Welcome to the Fashion is Cool podcast, where we explore fashion's business side and the entrepreneurs behind it. Hosted by Dwight, your guide to diverse careers and inspiring stories in fashion.
Welcome to the Fashion is Cool podcast. My name is Dwight Carter. I'm the owner of Brainchild Next. And today we have a special guest with us today. We have designer Umi Dreami, if I'm saying that.
Hi. Yes.
Welcome to the show. I know
Thank you so much.
we call you Madeline, but Umi Dreami is your designer name. And I don't get a lot of designer names. Usually it's like their first name or their last name is their designer brand. But what is Umi Dreami? Like, what is that? Where did that come
So it's a really funny story that actually isn't totally fashion related. I used to be a big video gamer.
from? Okay.
And this kind of started out as more of a screen name. I used to play a lot of video games with my friends, and it kind of became like my nickname, and people started referring to me as this name, like when I would go out in public. And I thought that was really cute, and it just kind of became sort of like a moniker for me. And I was like, well, that works. That's really cute. I love having a moniker for my brand, and so I just kind of went with it. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. I didn't know when I found you on Instagram and then I think we talked, I didn't really know your real name.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people are like, what should I call you? And they kind of go back and forth. Some of my friends do call me Umi, and some of them call me Madeline or Maddie. So it's just kind of like whatever your preference is. Yeah.
No, I dig that. That's cool. So what first drew you to fashion and how have you evolved your brand is called Ooms.
Yeah. Ooms or Umi Dreami as a designer label.
So
So I started out originally when I was younger, and I was thinking about like what I wanted to go to college for. I was a very musical kid. I played a lot of piano. I was in a lot of theater and dance, and I really liked music production, like working on a computer and doing recordings and editing and producing music. And I was like really inspired by that. And for a long time, a lot of people in my family thought that maybe I would go to school for music production. I wanted to be in like digital producing and working in a recording studio. And then when I was probably about in middle school, I would say like 11 or 12, I took my first home ec class and we were sewing, and I went home and I was like, I can work on this project at home because my mom has a sewing machine, and my mom and my grandma have always been kind of crafty. I've always had sewing machines in my house growing up. It was kind of like my mom's thing to make me like a little Christmas dress every year. And she would just kind of buy patterns from the craft store and things like that. And once I started going home and working on these projects, I was just kind of like hooked on working with my hands. And it's interesting too, on my dad's side of the family, my dad's side of the family owned a tailor shop in my hometown of Erie, Pennsylvania. Um, for many, many years, it was called Mailer's Tailor, and they did wedding suits, they did prom, and a lot of people in my hometown have told me that they've had their suits done at my family's shop. So I was kind of around the equipment and the fabrics that way too. My dad was always sort of thinking about how he was dressing. I remember him like getting dressed in the morning and inviting me to pick out a tie for him. So dress and fashion was kind of embedded into my life in these smaller ways. And then once I really started working with my hands, I was like absolutely hooked. I started watching Project Runway with my mom, which was great. And that kind of inspired me to start. I made it like a goal for myself to make every dress for like a school formal. Like if I had a homecoming or prom, I was like, I'm going to make this. And I did. And it was just so much fun. And eventually, I switched from this. I mean, I still obviously have passion for music, but like the idea of what my future could be kind of converged between music and started heading more towards apparel and design. And by the time I graduated high school, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I actually started out in music.
Yes, yes. I love that we have that in common.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. Yeah, same thing. I just kind of fell into that. for my grandfather was a musician, and I was actually dressing bands,
Oh, wow.
but didn't know that was a fashion thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just something.
Totally.
I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
and I knew how to do it, and I worked retail for a while. So but there's things that the people don't even realize that it's in the fashion industry. Like it's
Totally.
just don't know, and I had no idea. I've been doing the fashion industry for so long, but I know now. Yeah, now I'm in it 110%. And
Yeah.
trying to incorporate music and everything.
Yeah.
So, how would you describe the brand right now?
The brand right now, it's very bespoke and conceptual, I would say. So I'm not making a lot of multiples. And in that way, it's pretty artistic and which I love. It really allows me to explore sort of abstract concepts through fashion and identity in a way that doesn't necessarily have to fit any kind of customer profile. So for me, it's been over the last few years pretty artistically exploratory in that way. But it's been great. There's been so many people who have worn my clothes in different ways. I take a lot of influence, obviously, from my family history in tailoring. That wasn't sort of like always a prominent theme in my work. I would say that was probably more of a recent development within the last 2 to 3 years. When I was a teenager, the shop closed down and, people just weren't going to tailors anymore. And I think for a while, I don't know that my family felt like shame about it, but they were just kind of like bummed out about this like family business. And, as I grew up and I started to learn about it more, I really kind of felt a sense of pride to be continuing in some way this legacy in apparel. And once I started going to fashion school, I really started trying to learn about the business and the history, and we pulled all of these artifacts back out, all of these photos and newspaper clippings from the advertisements that we had run. And I really became inspired. My uncle, my dad's brother, he kept most of the equipment from the tailor shop and continued to do some alterations on the side just out of his home. And every year when I would come home for the holidays, like I had so much fun sitting with him and showing him things that I had made. He really had a passion for the craft. And then when I was about a junior or think about a junior in college, he passed away, and it was very, very sad loss, and I just felt like this passion to continue this legacy. I collected a lot of the equipment from his home. Little silver machine here was one of our legacy machines that was originally in the tailor shop, and I restored it and I put a new motor on it, a new belt. So I've been sort of collecting and creating almost like a museum of my family's tailor shop and all of our artifacts. And I think that I'm also kind of forging my own path with my brand. I am a women's wear designer, and so my silhouettes, the garments themselves, are designed to be worn by women, but I'm so inspired by the meaning that menswear has come to take on. My dad worked in a very corporate office, and a suit came to mean a sense of formality, a sense of perhaps power or structure or utility. I'd like to think that in incorporating those elements into my brand, I'm also kind of maybe adopting those characteristics as strong and powerful woman. So
Yeah, that's why I was drawn to you. As obviously, I produce a men's fashion platform that has actually evolved into just men's inspired wear,
mhm.
and that'd be cool, men's inspired wear. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm on Instagram, and I'm like, who is this person? With my no, that is, it's amazing because, doing research, it's, I mean, you're so, I don't know how to say it. You've taken it, you see women wearing, men's inspired clothing, the men's cuts and the ties and so on. And, women couldn't wear pants until,
Mhm.
40 or 1930s or something like that. But you're taking it to another like level to where they're wearing menswear, but it's not.
Right.
It's the men's
Right.
stuff, but it's the women's wear, and it's very cool. I'm very
Thank you.
blown away.
Yeah, yeah. I think that part of my process in deconstructing the men's garments, like psychologically, has an influence on me as well. Like we're kind of like giving it new meaning. Like when I'm physically like taking something apart, it has a psychological effect on me too, that maybe we are dismantling some aspects of this symbol and dismantling some of the unhealthy parts and maybe providing a new meaning to it, or a new understanding of like what this can symbolize for women, what this can symbolize for me as a designer. And it's why I really kind of love working with secondhand materials as well. I'll reference my one of my garments is made out of men's shirting. It's
Mhm.
like a blue striped sort of like patchwork style corset dress out of blue striped men's shirting, and I sourced all of the shirts from like Savers and probably bought like 10 or 15 men's shirt. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just everywhere. They're so easy to find, and I just loved that print, and I love the idea of like mixing them all together. And it's like while I'm sitting there in my studio, I have all of these shirts surrounding me, and I'm taking the cuffs off, or I'm stitching apart the pocket, or I'm cutting into it, and I am spending a lot of meditative time, like, thinking about the men who wore these shirts. Like,
Yeah.
was this in his closet for 40 years? Like, was this his favorite shirt? Like, did his wife iron it for him? You know, like, did he pass away and now this shirt is in the thrift store? Or did he just get sick of it and decide to go with something else? You know, like, I'm really thinking about the people who owned this garment before me, and then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what would they think if they could see where their clothing ended up on my garment? Like, what would they think of how this turned out?" And there's really no resolution to any of that meditation. There's really no right answer or direction that resolves to, but it's so fascinating for me to think about, and it becomes a part of the meaning of the garment for me too.
That's a great statement. So I'm trying to figure out, but I think you answered the question. But I guess what I was going to say is, do you ever like, okay, I have this idea, now I'm going to go look for something, or is it more you're just looking for things? I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea, and then you just start piecing it together. I think I saw a look that you made that was like, I think it was a men's pinstripe pant that you did,
Mhm.
like basically booty shorts.
Yes, yes, totally.
Was it like, okay, I'm gonna make some booty shorts and I'm gonna get some men's pants and I'm gonna do this? Or is it like, okay, what can I do with these pants? And then it just came into like these really cool
Yeah,
booty short, and then you had everything, and then it all kind of came together at the top.
right.
Like what is your thought? It seems like you're a very interesting and very creative thought process that you kind of it's almost like you meditate, but you get into the zone and
Yes.
black out, and then all of a sudden it's design.
Yes.
You don't know what you just did. It's just
Yes, exactly. That's a great way to put it. Um, so yeah, first I'll answer your question about how my creative process works. So it's kind of like a chicken or the egg kind of situation. Sometimes I I'm thinking about, sort of a symbolic object, whether it's men's shirting or a suit or gloves or ties, and I'm thinking about this object and what it could symbolize, and then I go and I source it. Or sometimes I'm like just passing through a thrift store, I see something and I'm like, I gotta make something out of that. So it sort of depends on the project. When I made the booty shorts, when I was in college, somebody gave me this like giant pinstripe men's blazer, and it was like a XL, and they were like, I don't know where this came from. Like, I don't have anything to do with it, but it's a lot of fabric. And it was
yeah.
like a really beautiful wool blend, which it's hard to find in suiting. And it had this beautiful, like, royal blue pinstripe woven into the fabric, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, what wonderful fabric." And so I actually first this was almost 10 years ago,
Yeah.
I created, like, a utility vest, which I can send you a photo of, out of the fabric first. It was sort of like an emerging trend at the time to have like the utility kind of like military style vest going on. And I was like, this is perfect fabric for it. Let's use it. I have it. I don't have to buy anything. I was a very broke college student at the time. So I was just like, let me use what I have. And then I didn't end up using like a ton of fabric. It was really only a few cuts of it, and I sort of put the rest of the jacket away in my fabric reserves. And then, this was back when I lived in Ohio to go to school. It traveled with me to St. Louis. I've lived in St. Louis almost 7 years now, and it's been in my fabric reserve since then. And for some reason, I was just like, like we're having this kind of like menswear resurgence, I think, in general in women's fashion. And I was seeing like these little shorts, and I was like, I want to make a little pair of suiting shorts. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have suiting left over in this jacket that's been in storage for like 10 years. I happen to have just enough to cut out this tiny little micro short, and that's how it sort of came to be. So that was just kind of like, sometimes I'm like laying in bed at night and it's just like light bulb goes off in my head and I'm like, that's what I'm going to use that for. So I'm a bit of a hoarder in that sense. So yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. I like the way you did that. That is awesome. I love it. So you've got some events coming up, just
Yes.
tell me how business is going.
Business is going good. Actually, like, I don't really sell garments. I have done commissions and I will open commissions selectively at different times of the year. And I'm selective kind of about what I take on as well. I want to make sure that first of all, the commission request is something that fits my aesthetic and fits my style, like that a client is coming to me understanding what my aesthetic is and what my direction looks like. But I also want to give myself plenty of time throughout the year to explore creatively for myself too. So it's like if I'm not developing new styles, then there's not a lot for clients to kind of come and choose from in terms of commissions. So I will open commissions a few times a year, but that's like really the only way that this brand itself kind of makes income at this point. So it's kind of open-ended for the future. I mean, I have a day job. I'm a designer at it's called Weissman. It's a dance costume company, and I'm very fortunate that that provides me the lifestyle to be able to like explore creatively like this without having to worry about a roof over my head. So that's been great. It really just kind of started as like a creative outlet. I like to think that my brand, I'm kind of closer almost to like a painter or a fine artist than I am to like a real brand owner. I think that the format for my work is sort of best exhibited in kind of like an art gallery kind of style. Runway is really fun. I love doing runway shows, and I've had a few this past year and I have a few more coming up that I would love to talk about. Yeah, I really love kind of thinking of myself closer to a fine artist and exhibiting my work in galleries where people can kind of spend time up close with my works. Yeah.
And how many hours of sleep do you get?
Gosh, I do struggle to get enough sleep. But yeah, it's like really I I it's been a wonderful endeavor because it challenges me to get off my phone. It challenges me to balance being social, being active in my community, spending time with my family and friends, keeping myself healthy, working on my day job, and then working on this personal endeavor. It's a lot to balance,
Yeah.
but I think that, reprioritizing, it's made me so much happier to explore creatively. Maybe I'm saying no to people on a Saturday night. Maybe I'm saying no to plans at the club sometimes.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's been so fulfilling to lose a little bit of sleep.
All right, talk about the events you got coming.
Yeah, so the one that I'm really excited for, it's happening in May. It's
Mhm.
Alt Ball. It is a charity ball sort of inspired by ballroom culture, fashion. There's going to be drag queens, there's going to be a competitive element, there's going to be dance, music, and it's benefiting an organization called Doorways, and that's going to be May 15th at the Sovereign. And it's going to be just a really wonderful event. The theme this year is Icon, which is celebrating how musicians have essentially used fashion to make a statement. So I will be presenting a never before seen look. So it's a little bit secret, a little bit under wraps. You'll have to
Mhm.
attend to find out what that's going to be. But I'm really
Oh yeah,
excited
be there.
to yeah, and yeah, the other event that I had recently was with the Webster Arts Organization this past weekend. We had a photo shoot and live gallery exposition. It was a really wonderful event because not only was it sort of a creative collaboration in terms of the photo shoot, but I was joined by two local high school students who aspire to be fashion designers. And I got to kind of mentor them for the day and share my work with them. And then we ended the day with this really great live model gallery so the public could come in and spend time with our work up close in person and talk to us and ask questions. So that was a really great, very cool, like art focused sort of event. And then, of course, at the end of the year, I'm very excited to be a featured designer at Gent. So, yeah, very much looking forward to presenting a collection there.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Do you have a piece that would represent you, your brand? Is there a piece in your collection? You're like, oh, I know who that is.
I think a lot of people currently recognize me for the men's shirt dress right now. I will wear that dress myself a lot out
Yeah.
to fashion networking events. And I think that dress really exhibits my brand aesthetic really well. It's super feminine. It's got this wonderful like corset bustier. So the waist is snatched. She is just like super feminine and fitted. And then it's got this great textured sort of patchwork skirt with all of these ruffles and layers. And of course, it's made out of like all men's shirts. It's got the little collar at the waist. It's got the sleeves still attached and hanging off. It's kind of like a little bit cheeky. It's a little bit fun. Sometimes I will wear a tie around my waist, so it kind of looks like my waist is like the men's like little neck piece and collar. It's just like it has a great sense of humor. I love when my work has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I think that as a designer, like we have to laugh at ourselves and we have to laugh at our work. There's no real point in creating something, in my opinion, if it's not fun, if it can't make you smile, if it can't make you laugh a little bit. So I think there is an element of silliness to it, but there's also something really profound about that dress too. It kind of holds multiple meanings for me. It is this wonderful blend of feminine silhouette, but also the masculine details of the shirting. So for me, the official title of the piece is The Marriage of Expectation and Identity. And it's actually about me sort of grappling with the concept of marriage itself and with my identity, with conforming to my family's legacy, but also sort of forging my own path. You know, growing up, I sort of always had this dream of getting married someday. I had like the Pinterest board with my dress and the flowers and everything, and it was something that I really aspired to. And then when I was very, very late bloomer, I realized when I was 28 that I was gay. And I was like, oh my gosh, this kind of like changes everything. You know, the whole script's out the window. Like, is that something that I still want? You know, is it still part of my identity to desire that? Because society, you know, like expects it of women, but and there can be comfort in that. There can be safety in conformity. So, you know, in a way it's like I'm comforted by this thing that I've always wanted, but it's also like I am wrestling with forging my own path as well. So it's this very complicated expression of like, is this what I want? Who am I in my identity? But it's also incorporating my family history and the comfort of sticking with the influences of menswear, but also forging my own path in women's wear as well. So it has this kind of multi-layered meaning. So yeah, it's one of my favorite pieces and I love to talk about it. So yeah.
I love that. So you have a story probably for every piece.
Yes, yes. I have a story for most pieces, and I think they have come to, I mean, I will just make sort of fun, cute little things here and there just because I like the way they look, but my larger pieces, yeah, have come to hold a lot of meaning for me, and I think it makes it more interesting when you can, I think people really receive the story when they look at my work, and that's why, I'm not just like making a dress. The influences of the story kind of create something a little bit more unique to look at, and I'm thinking of my dress specifically that's made out of men's workwear gloves, which is like a really challenging material to work with.
Yeah.
That was a dress that I really like. I had had it in mind for a while. When we think about like gloves, we're thinking about like hands, we're thinking about grip, we're thinking about touching things. So it's a very tactile representation. And I knew I wanted, we've seen like designers like Margiela use gloves to make a patchwork style garment. In his case, he was using kind of more of like a formal dress glove. And I was really inspired by his use of sort of non-conventional materials. But for me, I was like, I really want this to have sort of a different meaning. So I chose workwear gloves because I kind of wanted it to be a little rough around the edges. I wanted it to represent something maybe a little bit dirty, maybe a little bit uncomfortable, to be like, look like you're sort of held in and grabbed and touched by these dirty kind of gloves. And the garment itself kind of came to represent for me another sort of grappling with like being perceived as beautiful and wanting to be loved, wanting to be appreciated, but then also like, how do I wrestle with being objectified at the same time? How do women wrestle with sexuality and beauty and still find a way to be at peace with their identity? I think a lot of them aren't, I think a
Yeah.
lot of us really struggle with those feelings, and that's kind of what I wanted that dress to represent. So um I wanted like this very sort of like dirty, kind of restrictive look. And then for the skirt, I chose this beautiful, very clean, pure white sheer fabric to kind of represent a resilience and a purity and to one's identity and commitment to one's personality. So there's like these competing sort of aesthetics of beauty and purity, and then this, sort of rougher, kind of dirtier side to it. And I think the mix of textures really tells that story. So yeah.
I mean, a dress out of gloves.
Yes.
That's amazing. That is
Thank you. Yeah.
very, very impressive.
Thank you.
So, how do you feel about the a couple of things we talk about on this show is obviously the state of this fashion industry in St. Louis
Mhm.
and the different roles people play in fashion. I work with a lot of college students, and
Yeah.
I just talked to one today, where she's a designer and she's a sophomore, and she's not sure what she wants to do, or she has kind of an idea, but
Mhm.
there's there's so many jobs in the fashion industry. People just don't even know that it
Yeah.
is a job.
Yes.
I guess there's two questions. So how do we keep students here? That's one question.
Mhm.
Then what is your opinion of the state of fashion in St. Louis?
Yes. I'm really inspired by the fashion industry in St. Louis. I was actually really surprised by it. I mean, I was obviously able to find a career here upon graduation, and a lot of my peers have come similarly from local fashion schools. And my company that I work for is by far not the only place that regularly hires students. So I
Yeah.
think that it's a unique part of the country in that we don't typically think of fashion when we think of St. Louis, but there is a thriving culture here, and not just on a corporate level, but I think at the independent level too. Over the last couple of years, I have really only just started to reach out and get my hands in the community on an individual level for my personal work, but I have found that it hasn't taken all of that much effort to find this like robust, comprehensive community of individuals who really are super passionate about keeping the history of St. Louis fashion, a continuing effort, a creative effort. It's interesting that St. Louis actually at one point had one of the largest garment districts in the country, which I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn. And I think that's something that's so cool. Like, we should be talking about that more. We have all of these really beautiful historic spaces and architecture that was built for cultivating the fashion industry in St. Louis. And maybe we aren't the hub that we used to be in terms of manufacturing and production, but I think that the spirit still is alive in St. Louis. I think people care a great deal about keeping it that way, and it's been really inspiring for me to see. So, yeah, I've been very optimistic since kind of putting my hands out and finding these opportunities and these connections. It's been really great.
So, really quick, do you know about the zipper?
Like where it was invented or created?
No. Talking about the
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm about to learn something.
so there's a hotel called the Last Hotel.
Okay.
Then there's a school called Seba right next door. It's that street. If you are on a rooftop and look,
Mhm.
the street is a zipper.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Bricks are like laid in the
Yeah.
zipper up and down Wash Avenue. What is the museum?
Okay, okay.
City Museum. That's what I'm
Oh,
thinking.
yeah, okay. Yep.
City Museum used to be a shoe factory. So that
Yeah.
area, so that block, maybe 2 blocks, this zipper is like made
Wow.
down
Oh
the.
my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, not
Yeah.
people know that either. It's like
Yeah,
that's a great part of history for our
totally.
community. What advice would you give either a student that wants to be a designer or I'll say more student that is a creator. I won't say
Yeah.
design, I will say creator that is, trying to figure it out or trying to get somewhere, trying to see what their first step should be. What advice would you give them?
I love this question, and I always have an answer prepared.
Like,
I I my yes, I comfortable with failure. Learn to love failure.
yes.
That is my biggest piece of advice. And when you love what you do, whether it's fashion, whether it's some other creative outlet, do it as much as you can all the time. And by nature, you will sort of be exposed to failure. And the more you do it, the more you become comfortable with failure, the more you will learn and grow at an absolutely accelerated rate. I would love to be able to show you like some of the first things that I have made. They are so bad. They are so ill-fitting. They are so non-functional. And I continue to fail at stuff all the time. I continue to make mistakes. I made a mistake on the little pinstripe booty short. I, like, sewed down the lining that I had originally planned to make for it, and then when I put them on, it like totally made them fit really poorly, and I like had this huge headache about it, and I had to walk away, and it
Yeah.
was like I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to just like trash the project," it was very scary and like anxiety inducing, but being confronted with failure or a mistake or something not going your way will make you an incredible problem solver. It will make you super resilient. It will make you unafraid and just willing to persevere. I say a lot that the people that we see in the spotlight aren't necessarily the most talented people in the world, but they are the people who had the audacity to put themselves out there, to persevere, and to just be brave and be forward about what they want to do. And I think confronting failure, being comfortable with mistakes, making something, creating something because you know it will teach you something and not because you care about it being perfect. I frequently have to tell myself, I think a lot of creatives can relate to like being a perfectionist, right? A lot of people are like, I care very much about my work. I want it to be perfect. Something I have to tell myself all the time is just make it exist. You don't have to make it perfect yet. And people will respond to a concept more than they'll respond to perfection. So just make it exist and confront mistakes and confront your failures, and you'll just learn so much. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that a lot. Just make it. What did you say again?
Make it exist. You can make it perfect later. Yeah. Along those lines, you know.
It exists. Just make it exist. I tell students sometimes like be the first to fail.
Yes. Mhm.
I had to find my place as a fashion event creator,
Mhm.
producer,
Yeah.
consultant, because that didn't exist, and it
Sure.
understands that it's a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had events that have just failed miserably.
Yeah.
Ideas in my head that I've run in so far in my head, it just like feels like I just failed. I do have the same structure of things, events every year, but I like to change it, like changing the whole thing,
Yeah.
music and history of fashion. So now I got to put all these elements together to make sense. Kind of like you were talking about when you pick
Mhm.
different pieces to put together and to make this one thing.
Yeah.
I was feeling you on that because I'm trying to put all these different pieces that are in my head.
Yeah.
I think we're related.
Yeah. No, it's great.
We're gonna figure that out then. Okay, couple questions. What is your favorite style of music to listen to when you design?
I love house and disco. I have to listen to something upbeat. I have to feel like it's a party in my studio. Yes.
What is your favorite? You've been in St. Louis for how long?
About 7 years, yeah.
What is your favorite place to eat in St. Louis?
My favorite place to eat. I really love Sado. It is just a wonderful seafood fusion restaurant. The chef is amazing. You can't go wrong with anything on the menu. It's beautiful.
If this is gonna be it. If I needed to find you, okay,
Mhm.
by putting up a bat sign in the air,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
what would that bat sign look like?
That is a good
Something that
question.
okay, Dwight needs me, I'm on my but it's
Yeah.
about you.
It's about me. That is such a good question. I feel like, okay, this is like kind of a bit of like lore about me. I love playing poker. And I think it would have to be like a little hand of poker up in the sky, like a playing card
Ooh, okay.
or something. I would love to see that broadcast in the sky. I think that would get me somewhere.
So, I think I mentioned this to you before, and then we'll wrap it up, but you need to dress one of my favorite people right now. You
Yes.
know who that
I know
is?
who you're gonna say. Yes, Alyssa Liu. Yes, I'm obsessed with her. I have been just obsessed with watching her in the Olympics. I followed her for every program that she did. It was just so inspiring. She's fantastic and just so cool.
I was confused because I was excited because they kept talking about the St. Louis hairstylist. I'm like, she from St. Louis? Oh, that'll be
Right.
just like, stalk her and
Yeah.
until she says yes to model on the show. So, but
Yeah. That would be amazing. I would love that so much.
it would, you need to make her something and just send it to her.
Just send it. Yeah.
Something needs to happen. I mean, not only is she just a cool person and
Yeah.
great personality and so humble about things, and she's like inspiring to not just young women, but like, everybody. She's a
Yeah.
very intense, talented figure skater.
Yes. So talented.
Winter Olympics is kind of blah for me. Like curling, curling's on like all day.
Right. Right.
And then finally it's like figure skating and you see her and then it's just like, and she's having fun.
She's having so much fun. I think that's, like, truly, like, it's contagious. It was just so fun to watch.
God, it's great. Whew. Well, I could talk to you for days, but is there anything, can you rattle off all of your stuff, your email, or not your email, but like your website and your social media?
Yeah.
One can see it.
Yeah, so my Instagram is Umi Dreamy. It's UMIDREAMI. My website is oomsworld, OOMZ.world. That's pretty much where I'm mostly posting these days. And yeah, hopefully I'll see some of your listeners, and I'll see you at some of these events coming up soon. I'm super excited for the year ahead.
Very cool. Well, thank you everyone for watching and listening the Fashion is Cool podcast. You can like, share, and subscribe to this episode or to our channel. Definitely share this episode. I've been super excited to talk to you for a long time, and it's been a very long day.
Yeah,
Great way to end my day. To end my day.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been truly a pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Well, yeah, thanks everyone, and we will see you soon.